The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Invisible Influence Series. If you're ready to massively increase your sales by leveraging the power of subconscious persuasion, then make sure you text the word COMPEL to 411321. That's COMPEL to 411321. And if you're outside of the United States, then use WhatsApp and text the word COMPEL to 1-909-741-1321. Make sure you put in your best email address because that's how we'll deliver the goodies. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode. 10 seconds. All right, welcome back to the Influencer's Edge. As you can see, we're having some technical challenges with Zoom and my green screen. So you're just getting me and my Question the Media t-shirt. Today we have Deanna Seymour, and I'm going to ask Deanna Seymour for some advice because she teaches some things that I myself need to learn. So Deanna, we'll go very, very briefly through your biography. So you are a digital marketing strategist and host of the podcast Eff That, Breaking the Rules of Online Business. Now, how did you come up? First of all, how did you come up with that title? Because I love it. It's very unconventional.
Yeah. Well, I just got sick of following all the rules, right? Like everybody has a new formula, like you scroll Instagram, you're like, post 3 times a day, post, 1 time a day, don't post it, don't post at all, use hashtags, don't use, and I'm like, okay, F all the rules. We get to decide how we want to do things. So,
and what was your process of uncovering or discovering the process that you teach? Was it trial and error? How long did it take you, and what was your process for inventing it?
Well, actually, okay, so I had a series, an Eff That series on breaking the rules, specifically of social media. So I had a girl on from Going Ultraviolet is her username, and she talked about the idea of just putting up this like static grid, and then she shows up a lot in her stories and reels. So that's like her method. But then I had a client come to me, and usually I help people do their social media on a monthly basis, right? We're used to just cranking that stuff out and having to every month come up with new content. So it's sort of like maybe a bad business move for me to be telling people to put up Instagram posts and leave them, because I'm like putting myself out of a job now that I'm thinking about it. But I just thought it was a really cool idea. And I had a client who is actually really into the world of like psychedelics and helping people learn how psychedelics can heal you. So she actually got her Instagram like banned. And so and so had spent years, building it up. I think was up to like, around 5,000 people following her. And then it was like just gone. She tried to get it back and it didn't work. So she felt like she still had to be on there, but was obviously pretty jaded about trying to start from scratch. And also like, could it happen again? So she had just nothing up there for the longest time. And then we decided we were going to start, but she also started a Substack where she could talk freely about all the topics she wanted to. And then I was helping her pitch to podcasts. And it was like, you know what? I think people are going to come to your Instagram and there's absolutely nothing there. Like she kind of started a new one, but wasn't committed. So there was nothing there. I was like, let's get you set up so that when people land on it, we can tell them exactly what you do, but also go find me on Substack so that you can be there, but like not be there at the same time.
Cool. Got it. All right. So you use humor, creativity and consistency into your content plan. Now, here's what I really, really, really want to get your wisdom and your brilliance, because I'm a super high creative, and I have found consistency up till very recently to be my bugaboo. I actually hired someone who was a guest on the podcast to give me a consult on how to do it. Now I'm being much more creative. So let's talk about that. What is the essence of what you teach your clients about how to be very creative and yet be consistent. Because when we're highly creative, saying we're going to do it every morning from 9 to 10, doesn't always work. So how do you teach your clients to get past that? Because that's gold.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for me and my clients, you have to break the rule. Like you can't, for me and for a lot of my clients, and maybe for you, like it's really hard to consistently do something you don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like when you feel like, oh, I say a lot, I should be on LinkedIn. I don't know why I think that. I guess I just think there's like fancy people on LinkedIn that would hire me. Or, you just always kind of have a little bit of FOMO if you're not on a platform. And I realized I was like, you know what? When I say something like, I should get some ice cream, I just like go get ice cream because I want to do it. Like I kept saying I should be on LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be on LinkedIn. So it would be very hard for me to consistently post on LinkedIn because I don't want to. I love writing emails to my list. I think it is so fun. And I haven't missed a Thursday. I send my emails out on Thursday. I haven't missed a Thursday in like, over a year probably, because I really love doing it. And I do it in a way that works for me. Like I use emojis, I use GIFs. There's probably somebody who would read my emails and tell me I'm doing it all wrong, but it's the way I like to do it. And the people who are there for it. The people who aren't, just unsubscribe and then no big deal. But I think if you find something that works for you and a schedule that works for you, you can be consistent.
Let's tap into that. Let's tap into that. I know this is not, we will talk about LinkedIn, Instagram grids and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But this is real essential, solid gold, even diamond stuff. So let's talk about that. How do you do that?
Well, so my podcast. I used to have an old podcast, but I started and I was like, I want to do 2 episodes a week because I want to grow this thing fast. And that's what some fancy lady who I was following did. And I'm sure she had like a whole team behind her and it was just me. And I couldn't keep up. And I was just like starting to resent the podcast. So I just quit, a lot of podcasts just quit. So I quit that one. Also, I was getting really cranky with online business, which clearly plays into my brand now. When I came back with a vengeance. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do 1 a week. But even that, I was like, it feels like I turned in my assignment and then I immediately have to get started on the next one. So I do my podcast every other week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can have a little breathing room. I can actually talk about the one I put out. And some people might think, oh, that's too slow. But I think it also depends on your goals, like what you like, a pace that feels good for you and your goals. Like if I really, truly had to grow my podcast quicker, then I might have to suck it up, buttercup, and do it every week. You know what I mean?
I was just going to use that phrase.
Yeah, but that's not my goal. Like my goal is really to show up and connect with people who kind of already follow me, say things that they like. It's like a slow organic growth. I'm not trying to be a huge podcaster. It's just a way for me to create content and show up with my audience that I enjoy. Again, that I enjoy. When it was too frequent, I started not enjoying it. So I always have to find that sweet spot of what feels good for me, because just my personality is I'm not going to do it. And also I want to talk about, because you were saying we're so creative, and same with me, I don't talk about the same thing every week in my email. I know people say you have to be a broken record and people have to hear things 7 times to make a decision. I talk about all the things I love. And I'm not just well, I do kind of talk about random stuff. I was going to be I don't do that. And I'm like, yes, I do. Within my emails, I usually talk about whatever I want to, but I still relate it back to marketing or having a business, something that would make sense to them. And same with my podcast. I can be kind of all over the place within this, weird little world that I've set up. So yeah. Give yourself some freedom. It is, I know what you mean. The whole consistency sounds like such a boring right angle word that I'm do that. But if there's enough, I love Pee-wee's Playhouse. I don't know if you can tell from my background, from my room that I'm in.
You love what in your house?
Pee-wee's. Oh, I just love Pee-wee's Playhouse. Do you remember that show?
Oh yes, of course. Paul Rubens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that show is wacky and fun and awesome, but also was on every weekend when I was a kid. I woke up and I could watch Pee-wee. It was consistent. So it can be as wacky as you want, but I think people do kind of expect a little bit of consistency, and it's going to keep yourself a little on track. I'm not super
Yeah, I
hustle over
love
here,
it.
but
Well, Chat GPT is revolutionizing me. It's writing my emails in a third of the time it would take me to do it. And then I just take it and put my own voice into it. So that's a little hint for you.
all right.
Those
I
of you
haven't
watching,
looked into that at all. I'm like,
do
I
it.
feel like
Do
I'm
it.
like old timer. I'm like resistant. I'm like,
No, do it. It'll put everyone out of business who's not using it. All right, so let's get into how to stop posting to Instagram and look good doing it. What do you mean by that?
so that's kind of what I was like alluding to before. With my client, her name's Kathleen O. She's actually really awesome. She just has her grid up. So we did 9 squares for her. And you can do as many squares as you want.
Do you have an illustration of what that would look like, or do you have a grid that you?
Let me see. I mean, I have my phone. I wonder if I'll pull up Kathleen's. We're talking about Kathleen. I'll pull her up really fast. I don't know. It might be weird to hold up.
Is it like a physical grid that you put on your wall, or is it just a?
No, it's just like her. When you land on somebody's Instagram, the first thing you see.
Because I don't use it myself.
So like here she is. And so, ooh, it's like hard to see. Hold on, let me squish it up.
All right.
Whoop.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So those are all her posts. Like she has nothing else to
Right.
show.
Right.
It's just that. And then like, each one like normal Instagram has a little caption that you can't see. But and it goes through the whole grid, and most of her calls to action would be, let me come on your podcast. Let me talk to you about drugs. Let me talk to you more over on Substack if you want more information. And so like for me, I was struggling with, since I am a graphic designer, I was like feeling like everything I'm not much of a perfectionist in my life, but it kind of felt like, oh, if I'm showing up with these graphics, like they kind of have to be good because that's what I want people to hire me for. So I was spending way too much time creating Instagram posts. And that's the only platform I'm on. So, I mean, it was okay. But also Instagram was saying, oh, we're really pushing reels. Everybody should show up in videos. And I was like, oh my gosh, like now I have to do videos and these posts and this, and then they want like carousel posts. You have to do 10 per post. And you're just like, you know what? I also have to do my client work. And I also want to write my email. Like I want to make my this is like adding up very quickly. So I made my 12 posts that are just there until I change them if I want to.
So you post every day, or you post?
No, I just posted all 12 at once. It was like putting up a web page. Like you can picture it like like a landing page.
I get it.
Yeah, right when you're there. And so I still show up. Like Kathleen just goes to Substack. I have one person who like
what is a Substack? Let's make sure people understand.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. So Substack is kind of like a blogging email platform. So you can write. It's a lot of writers over there, I feel like. So she pretty much like her weekly emails are in a blog form there, but also get pushed out to her email list. So but I think the allure of Substack is that she was able to talk about things.
It's a platform you can go to.
Yeah, it's kind of like social media. Yeah. It's like social media and a blog kind of baby. It's definitely long form stuff.
I'm laughing because ChatGPT will take a blog post and divide it into 10 emails. It just is cutting. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you are not using if you're not using ChatGPT out there, I don't work for OpenAI or Microsoft, but it's scary. It's right. Go ahead.
I know. I feel like everybody's talking about it. I'm like, I gotta check this out. So yeah, and like I've had somebody who owns a yoga studio and she just doesn't want to be on social media, and she doesn't get her. It's also important, like if you're getting a bunch of clients from Instagram and it's working for you, then I would keep doing what you're doing. But this is for people who are like, I don't even get any clients from Instagram. Why am I constantly coming up with content for Instagram when I don't even get, people from there? So we set hers up with, she has a membership to help yoga teachers and she has her own studio. And so we just built these 9 little squares that sort of told people like, here's what I do, here's who I am, like here's where you can find out more.
And does he add them every month, or does that's it? It's static and it sits there.
Just sits there. It sits there until she wants to change it.
Well, this is so contrary to people who say you got to be on social media with video. Video's the thing. No one will read. They want video. You have to post every day, live, go live on it, live on it. It's completely contrary to everything I've heard, and good news because I'm too effing busy.
Yeah, well,
and you're saying it works.
it does. So I personally, I like Instagram. I was telling you, it's my only platform that I'm on. It's just like, because, you know, there's like those posts that you could do reels and you can do stories, are like the three major things you can do on Instagram. I feel like I was telling you, I'm not a perfectionist, but the graphics were holding me up because, you know, I consider myself like a professional designer. So I wanted those to look right. When I'm making reels and when I'm showing up in my stories, I feel like I can do that and just be myself. So I still show up on Instagram in my stories and on reels, but I'm done posting long captions and like making perfect graphics. All of that is over for me. And I can just do reels and stories. And I still get followers. Like at first I was nervous because I was like, why would anyone follow me if they come and they think she only has 12 posts, like whatever. But in the post, I say, hey, I'm sick of posting to this. So follow me because you can see some reels and some stories and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like really upfront about it.
That's
and
very transparent. Wait, hold on just a minute.
Yeah.
That's very, very transparent to say, I don't like doing this. I'm sick of doing this. It's complete. Again, it's complete. And this is why we call it the influencer's edge. We want people who are contrarian, who are saying Eff it. You know, it's not a family show. Eff it. You can even say the word if you want to.
I was like, done.
I love this. Are you getting, the question is, does that strategy monetize for you and your clients, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, so like Kathleen has some paid subscribers over on Substack, which is not an option on Instagram. And also I think, I mean, I'm getting work because people are super excited about the idea of checking off their graphics and having me help them set up their, you know, static grid or whatever. And then the other thing, this is what I was going to say too. I think the other reason it works is because if you only have 9 or 12 little squares to tell people what you do, a lot of times with my clients, I have to work really hard in the beginning to get their messaging down because they only have a little spot to say it.
Talk about that. Talk about that process. Because again, getting people who have a lot to say and who are highly creative to get their message down. I want to know, see, the technical stuff about what's a square and what's Substack, I don't know that people are so interested in, but I want to know, what is your process as a coach or guide or whatever you call, I don't know what title you call yourself, it doesn't really matter. What is your process again of taking people who know so much and distilling their message down? It's very difficult. Just as an example, it's easier for me to write a 30-page mini book than it is to get it down to 180 characters or whatever it is. How in the hell do you teach people to do that?
Well, I mean, I feel like most of the people are showing up somewhere. Like for me, it's still my email, my reels, my stories. So I can continue to expand on whatever. So what I try to do is we sort of like, I keep saying 9. I think 12 is kind of good too, because phones are long. I'm a very visual thinker. So like,
I can tell.
I would like for it to take up the phone. I think that's why mine's 12. But also depending on how much do you really have to say? And the other thing I do is I think we all feel a lot of pressure to serve our audience and just serve and give away stuff and give the content. And then we almost get like nervous to ask for the sale or even ask for their email to join our list. Or, you know, people make lead magnets and then they like never promote them. They're like a little shy about it because they don't want to seem like salesy or pushy. So I sort of sit them down. I'm like, okay, what do we need people to do? Like, what are you selling? What are your opt-ins? Where can they go to learn more? Like, how do you like to communicate with them? Like, do you want them to go to your website and send you an email? Do you want them to send you a DM? Like, we just kind of sit down and it's like, I have a background also as a teacher.
Wait. Okay.
Okay.
You're super highly creative. I see the stuff in the background, you told me, and yet you come up with structures for people, which is very logical and very left brain and very linear. So
Yeah.
how do you have the ability? This is what I don't, I want to learn you and how you, what makes you tick and what's going on up here.
Yeah.
And so how did you marry this highly creative, unconventional, I would call it the black sheep of the family. I don't know if you are or you're not, with the ability to think logically and linear and with structure. Because that's gold. That's the real gold in this interview. Not the
Oh, thank you.
I'm not taking, listen, I'm not taking away what you do with Instagram. Marissa. I really don't
Yeah.
mean to. But
No.
this is the gold, and my job as the host is to go, wait a minute, that's the gold you're dropping. We want to know that.
It's funny that you brought that up. It's funny that you said the black sheep thing. I'm like, uh-oh, hashtag, like we're going into my childhood trauma. Just kidding. My sister was always the smart one and I was the artsy one. And then as an adult, it was actually kind of funny because I feel like my mom was like, you know what? I'm sorry that we always kind of made you feel like you weren't, you know what I mean? Like we just had our little roles.
Yeah.
I honestly it's funny that you mentioned that because I think that I forget that I do have a very, it's kind of like that thing where in art where you like know the rules, then you can break the rules.
Yes.
I like the rules. I like saying like every Thursday I'm going to send an email, but then within that email, I can break that's just how my brain works. Like, honestly, I'm like, right now you caught me off guard. I'm like, I have no idea
That's
how
my
my brain
job.
works like that.
That's my job. I told you in the pre-interview, I told you I was going to do this. This is what the feedback I get about the podcast is you always pull things out of people. It's never about the technical stuff that they teach you. Yeah, but I don't tell them that until right a minute before.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because actually people have said to me too before, like I have a lot of ideas, but then I do them. Like I remember sitting drinking coffee with this guy one time and he was like, I mean, that usually people in this town just like talk about ideas, but then you like do them. And I think part of it is because I'm so creative and I can't wait to see it like come to life. So part of like getting shit done is you got to figure out the systems to make it happen. So
if I put this together right, you have some kind of vision of what it's going to look like and what it's going to do for other people and for yourself. And it's that sense, somehow there's an internal felt sense of motivation where you go, I can't wait to see what it looks like. Now let's get it done. Whereas if it was just a beating on yourself, like I should get it done, let's do it. That's see, that is worth the whole episode in and of itself. To me, that's genius.
Yeah. And kind of what you're doing, like, to be honest, sifting through everything that people throw at me, because when we sit down, they think, like you were kind of saying, like they think everything is the most important. And I do that too. Like when I first do a draft, my emails are like super long. And then I'm like, okay, no one's going to read all this. Like, what do I really need them to know? Or what's the funniest part of this or what, and so I feel like it's a nice back and forth where they're like, okay, here's what we need. And people are always like, oh, sorry, I'm just rambling. And the whole time I'm taking notes, I'm like, I got it. I'm going to get all these rambles and we're going to like sift through them and figure out what people actually need to know about you and your business.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask, this has been brilliant. You've given way beyond what's in, it's way beyond what you put in your application to be on the show.
Well, I need to rewrite that then. I need a chat GPT to rewrite that for me.
No, because it would match conventional podcasts. And this one is very unconventional. We've interviewed people who are experts in mind control and interrogating people for intelligence agencies. And we don't want conventional on this show. So you've been brilliant. Thank you. How did people continue? First of all, is there any question that I didn't ask that you would like me to ask?
No, I think this was super fun.
Okay. Well, how can people stay in the conversation with you?
Well, I'm over on Instagram and my username is the Deanna Seymour, which makes me sound very fancy. I'm the Deanna Seymour. Or on my website, deannaseymour.com. My emails, people tell me, are very funny and fun. They always have lots of visuals in them because clearly that's who I am. So yeah, either of those places, I would love to connect with anybody who wants to talk about this kind of stuff.
Thank you, Deanna, for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Stay on after we officially finish the recording because I want to chat with you for a few minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much for tuning into the Influencer's Edge and enjoying our wonderful guest, Deanna Seymour. You've been really fun. We'll see you next time on the next episode. The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Invisible Influence series. If you're ready to massively increase your sales by leveraging the power of subconscious persuasion, then make sure you text the word compel to 411321. That's compel to 411321. And if you're outside of the United States, then use WhatsApp and text the word compel to 1-909-741-1321. Make sure you put in your best email address because that's how we'll deliver the goodies. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencer's Edge Show.